Welcome to the SA Digital Marketing Podcast. My name is Terence Mentor, and I'm a digital marketer who has realized that since this industry is constantly changing, we need to be constantly learning. And I think the best way to learn all of the things is to talk to the people who are doing all of the things. So this podcast is really just a chance to do just that. For this first season of the SA Digital Marketing Podcast, I've interviewed 5 of SA's top digital marketers about their careers, what they think of the state of the industry right now, and most importantly, what advice they have for someone looking to improve their digital marketing skill sets. This episode is the full conversation I had with Senzo Madikane. We spoke about truly mastering specific skills versus being a generalist, the benefits of agency life, and why getting a good educational foundation is crucial for a successful career. Let's get right into it. Here's Senzo.
Okay, I'm Senzo Madikane. I am based in Johannesburg and I am currently the marketing manager for First Car Rental.
Great. So tell me how you got into the world of marketing, especially when it comes to the digital marketing aspect of your job, which I'm sure there's a huge aspect of that. What got you pushed into that direction? Were there any moments that particularly stand out where you're like, oh, I like this?
Honestly speaking, I think marketing found me. I don't ever remember being in a situation where I knew exactly what it is I wanted to do. I mean, at a point, I almost became a teacher. So I think after my undergrad and then going on to do and figuring out at least what I wanted to do and landing up at School of Advertising, AAA, it's kind of fell on my lap, I guess. Apparently, I'm a sociable person. Apparently, I'm quite out there, so that the personality also fits in quite nicely. Which I kind of feel like it all sort of worked out in the end, where I wasn't, to be completely honest, really sure what I wanted to do. At a particular point, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. That quickly changed to something else. So eventually, I sort of fell into marketing quite literally, because my first job then was at a marketing agency.
Wow. Okay. So I wonder if there's something about marketing and digital marketing that it does often gather people who don't really know what else to do because it has so many factors involved. So I can understand where where someone who wants to be a teacher or a lawyer or is creative or is sociable, why marketing kind of ticks all those boxes in various ways. And when it comes to you being a sociable person, I totally testify to that because I cold messaged you. We didn't know each other before I messaged you, but I know you from LinkedIn, and I just took a chance, and you were so kind to come in and say, yeah, okay, strange person with big hair, I'll have a conversation with you. So again, thank you so much for doing that. In your journey, you mentioned that you joined AAA, the advertising agency. Where do you feel education fits into a career like ours, which is often, many people have said that, experience is what counts. You really got to get the experience. You got to get the miles behind you to really know what to do. But other people have said actually getting a grounding of education is important. Where do you feel those courses and those kind of education fit in?
I think it's a 50-50, hey, Terence. Fundamentally, because we are creative individuals, I think it becomes very necessary for us to have the tools to know the parameters within which to play. And that is exactly what the education then gives us. We're all about creativity being intuitive, and that's great. But it can go either way if it's not grounded in something. So I think having the foundational aspects of marketing, of digital marketing, allows you to then be able to do many things, many exciting things. And also because things are forever changing, especially in digital marketing, you are then able to adapt accordingly, or else be able to keep atop and abreast of the changes. I mean, the one week Google algorithms may be doing one thing, and then the next week your photos are not being accepted on your Google My Business page, and you have no idea why.
Oh, why do they do this to
So
us? It's like these platforms hate
exactly.
digital marketers.
Exactly. So every day it's something new, and you need to be able to, I guess, pivot from what the foundational aspects of the education then gives you, because you need to be able to see and make it fit, because it is a puzzle that's forever changing, unfortunately.
Are there some things that you would have learned during your time at varsity and at college that you still use today that actually haven't changed despite the evolution of digital marketing?
I think being able to think, and that's being able to think analytically and analyze data. Um, then that's probably the primary and fundamentals of university education for me, where it allows you to grasp the analytical side of the creativity. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we still are here using Microsoft Excel, which is whether a good thing or a good thing, I cannot tell you. But thanks to Varsity, we know how to use it.
And I guess the other thing, I mean, I know from my experience in studying at Yellow, the ability to research, one of the things you're saying is that things are always changing. The only way you know what the changes are is by knowing how to look for stuff, finding the right sources, knowing where to go for critical information. I guess that's also a skill set that these courses stick with you after a while.
100%. From the research aspect of it to critical thinking as well. I think these are very critical aspects that are necessary for the job. Because without critical thinking, you may be out here doing campaigns that seem good in your head, or you think they are, but unfortunately, the world
Yes.
thinks otherwise.
And we've seen this. I mean, I get this experience quite often where non-marketers, and especially non-digital marketers, they'll come to you with like what they think is just the best idea ever. But the moment you take 1 or 2 moments to really think it through, you realize actually no one's going to listen to that message. No one cares about that. It's like, yes, that's
Yeah,
maybe something that you would like, but will that work for 100,000 people or 1 million people? I don't think
exactly.
so. Yeah. Tell me about your current experience working now with digital marketing. You mentioned you were a marketing manager at First Car Rental, which I'm assuming encapsulates more than just the digital part of marketing. But when it comes to digital marketing, what kind of where do you currently focus when it comes to digital marketing? And do you see that changing in the future? Where would you like that focus to move to?
Yeah, I mean, from a digital marketing perspective, we do a lot of PPC campaigns and a lot of I guess ad buying on Google. Um, so the G&D is quite a thing for me. I am currently in the process of setting up, I guess, a team that is going to support me to achieve the many other things that come with my marketing role. So, in terms of ideas, many of them are still in my head as far as they go. And I think as the year progresses and as the years progress, a lot of stuff is going to be changing and hopefully be seen in the industry, in the car hire industry specifically as well. So I am holding thumbs, to be quite honest, that the next 6 months to a year are fruitful ones for me, from that perspective, from a brand growth perspective, from a brand recognizability perspective as well. That also means more work for myself
Yes.
and my said team. Um, so it's the yin and yang of life, right? We want the great things. The great things will come, but unfortunately, we have to put in the hours.
And mentioning this idea of a team and building a team around you, the role of the digital marketer has become so diverse. This is one of the reasons why I asked this question. there's the creative side, there's the really analytical side, there's the report making, and there's so many acronyms: the PPC, SEO, ABMs, all the different things that fall under the huge umbrella that is digital marketing. I guess it's becoming more and more impossible to do it all, for one person to be an expert in all of those fields. So do you feel are you starting to feel that need and that pressure to bring in people to really focus in on PPC, for instance, or SEO?
100%. I think not only just from a resource and capability perspective, but also just from a time management perspective. There are unfortunately only 24 hours in a day, and some of those need to be spent sleeping. And if I were doing everything myself, I probably would do very minimal of the sleeping. So I think from a mental health perspective, it becomes very necessary to put in the right type of person and the right resource for the right type of job. And as you say, in digital marketing, there's so many facets to it, and there's so many capabilities within digital marketing. It becomes quite important that you do not think yourself a jack of all trades, because 10 to 1, you're a master of none.
I must say that is something that I really struggle with, because I love learning new things. It's, again, one of the things that attracted me to digital marketing was the fact that you could, be an email, you could learn about email, and you can learn about search engine optimization. And then there's the whole creative aspect, there's the content creation aspect. And very soon I started to become very overwhelmed, because my
Yeah,
brain, like sleep, my brain is finite too. There's only so much information it can hold. And
exactly.
when companies and organizations are looking for experts, exactly what you're saying, you're not a master of anything. So yeah, you can maybe do a little bit of SEO, a little bit of
Yeah,
ABM, but we're not looking for that.
yeah,
We're looking for someone who can truly master, our mailing system, for instance. So totally
exactly,
agree.
exactly.
I don't know how my ADHD brain is going to cope with that more and more in the future, as we become more and more specialized, because I'm always looking for something fancy and new to try out. Uh, One of the things you mentioned when you were telling us about your journey to where you currently are, once you finished studying, you said you've landed up in an agency, in a marketing agency space. Can you talk to me about the pros and cons that you've maybe experienced between the agency life and the marketing team for a single company? Are there pros and cons? And I mean, I know where you're currently working. You want to say you prefer that, but is there things that you prefer about your current position over the agency life?
I think agency life allows itself more to collaboration. I mean, the many agencies that I've not worked at but been seen offices, at least pre-COVID, it's very much an open plan. Departments can just shout across the rooms and have conversations in between, and I guess brainstorm ideas, as opposed to having to automatically, as corporates would, book a boardroom, sit between one and two stakeholders and have a conversation about it. So the energy in the marketing agency is definitely very different to corporate. Um, does it necessarily allow for more creativity? I think that is dependent on each organization. But the the design and that agencies seem to be going after, that is the open plan office spaces, sort of leads you to believe that collaboration is always key to being able to work properly. Whether it's the design team asking the copywriters for ideas, or vice versa, or the social media team asking for insights from the analytics team to be able to come up with more meaningful campaigns for their clients. That collaboration is very important for meaningful end results.
I do wonder with, I've never worked in an agency myself. I've worked on different individual brands. And one of the benefits for me for that was always that you really get to understand the brand and you get to work deeply with it. Whereas with an agency, at any one time, you could be working on, multiple campaigns for multiple brands. I guess some people might see the excitement in that. You're currently with one brand in particular. Have you found that has been really beneficial to get a deeper understanding? Has it improved your digital marketing to be focused like that?
Oh, 100%. I think that the foundational phase of being involved in an agency and being able to work in the multiple industries enabled me to be able to be comfortable in the agility that is digital marketing. It becomes very important, as much as digital marketing is digital marketing, to know that certain things work better in certain industries than they would in particular ones. And the exposure that one receives in industry work, in the form of the multitude of clients that an agency would have, I think is equips one to be quite capable, to not only be agile in their responses, but also just know what works, and what doesn't, or at least have that a framework of what works and what doesn't.
Someone mentioned to me that agency life is great for when you're younger and have all the energy and the brain power, and you don't have kids yet maybe, and you're okay with working
Yes.
20 hours a day. And when you want
Yes.
things to slow down a little bit, maybe move out of the agency space.
You go and you focus on one brand, which is
Yes, you can
amazing.
focus. It's amazing. But like you say, you've taken all of those skills, all of the inputs that you received, all of the experience that you have, and really applied it to one brand. That seems like a good career flow. Maybe I missed out in my youth. Who knows? Let's if I can get a little bit nitty gritty with you about some of the work that you do. I in particular, I'm someone who sees the power of data and reporting, but I really err on the side of intuition and gut feel and creativity. So for me, if something looks and feels good, even if the data doesn't back it up, I tend to go in that direction. How does using data, how does that show up in your day-to-day work? Is that something that you work with regularly to inform your work?
Definitely. I think, in order to create campaigns that resonate, you need to know what is important to your target audiences. And also, people are not homogenous. So not everybody's the same. The 17-year-old, or at least not the 17-year-old, but the 24-year-old isn't necessarily thinking about the same thing as a 36-year-old, for example. But you need to be able to be crafting messages that speak to these two very different groups of people who are also presumably at very different stages of their lives. So it, I think data helps to give you a picture of, or at least the landscape of, within which you are working in. But intuition then informs what will work, and what doesn't.
And then when it comes to the creative aspect, do you ever find that maybe you will, when do you know when to take a chance on creatives? Is that just something that you get with experience where you go, this is something we've never done before. We don't have data to back it up, but we're going to give it a go, even if it takes a bit of budget. Is that something that you're brave enough to do sometimes?
Yeah, I don't know, actually. That is probably the most honest answer I could give you, because there are so many factors that come attached to, quote unquote, the bravery or the brave act in terms of campaigns, that aren't necessarily always in your control. So, as much as I would possibly want to take the risk, I'm part of an organization, and there are most likely processes in place that will most likely override me if the majority of the people feel that the risk isn't worth it. Yeah, so I I think the simple answer to that question is I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that's a great, honest answer, because again, the reality of working in marketing is that we're not, as creative as we are, we're not independent artists that can just go off and do their own thing. We're responsible to the budgets and to the people who are above us, and also to our team as well. So we can't just be, brainiacs that go off and do crazy things. We can't be Dr. House that breaks the rules every single time, because there are real world consequences if we get it massively wrong. So thank you for the honest answer, because I think sometimes we want to be seen as the mavericks. We want to be seen as like the cool, crazy guys who are always doing something that's like hot and new. And that's not often the case when it comes to the day-to-day marketing work that we actually do. Sometimes it's just a lot of Facebook posts, and that's what we have to do because that's what works.
Yeah.
If there was something called Senzo's law or Madikane's law, it could be about life in general, but it would be great if it was about digital marketing specifically. What would that law state?
Jeez, check and check and check your spelling and grammar
Yes.
on your newsletters.
I'm laughing because today,
Oh, wow.
it has happened to me today where I because I know how bad I am, I sent it to my manager first, and he came back to me with like a list of 10 things that was so obviously wrong. It is so embarrassing.
And you know what? To be fair, usually we've sat with this piece of content for so long that I mean, it just sort of everything looks the same, even after
Yes.
the very multiple versions that it has gone through. So I always find it useful perhaps to have a sounding board where I'm just like, okay, cool. Before I'm sending this out, please have a look at it. And if I have the time or the luxury of time, which generally I don't, I leave it, for a few hours, maybe overnight, and then come back with fresh eyes and be on time. Okay, cool. Let me look at this first thing in the morning, and then I send it out.
Because we've all seen those posts online where it's obviously just been copy pasted by the wrong person, and then
Yeah.
remember to put the image in the copy of the post, for
Yes.
instance, or no one
Yes.
will think,
Or
everyone thinks this is
insert
dumb.
photo here in round brackets.
Yes,
And you're like, geez,
yes.
guys, okay.
Come
What
on.
the hell?
Yeah, and we just, as marketers, and especially as digital marketers, my heart just sinks whenever I see that, because I know
Yeah,
that person's about to have a bad day. So I love that. I
exactly.
love that Senzo's law is check, 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 and check again, and then go home. Don't look at it for a day, and then check for like a 15th time. I love
Yep.
that. That's going into the big book of digital marketing laws from this point on. Then again, just to get more practical, what are the tools that you use every day, whether it's reporting or posting or content creation?
I think from a content creation perspective, AI has done a lot of great things in helping us lay the foundations to our content. Um, I rely and I work with AI quite a lot. From a social media perspective, also the platforms that we utilize are quite great with regards to the analytics and the insights that can be gleaned from their reports. But over and above that, I think your Hootsuite, which I use quite often, is quite great as far as social media and social listening is concerned. From a reporting perspective, there's also Meltwater. As far as media goes, that also then tracks or has the ability to track public sentiment
Mm.
on my brand and what exactly is going on and what are people talking about. Do I need to respond to anything urgently? Is there perhaps a campaign that I would need to craft to deal with particular issues that have arisen in the past? So yeah, I think from a list of tools, it's social media listening and social media content analytics data becomes very important for me. And yeah, that list I guess kind of sums up all of the tools that I utilize.
One day when I have season 2 of the show,
audience sentiment I think is going to be a whole episode just to itself, because that is how do you get that? How do you get that insight? What to do when you
Oh
get the insight?
gosh.
How do you improve the sentiment if it's negative? There's a lot to work with there. There's a lot of play in that conversation. So that is definitely
No,
going on the list
truly.
as well. Yes, this is brilliant. Senzo, thank you so much for your insights. This was really, really cool.
Thank you so much, Terrence, and thank you for the opportunity. I mean, it's been great.
A big thank you to Senzo for his time and experience, and a thank you to you for listening to this episode of the South African Digital Marketing Podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, please leave a comment in the app and I'll respond to you there. Otherwise, you can send your thoughts, opinions, and questions to podcast@tmdigital.co.za. That's podcast@T for Tango, M for Mother, digital.co.za. And of course, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen. Thank you so much. This was the South African Digital Marketing Podcast.